Kriyas Shema. He goes on and he says something truly beautiful. He says, therefore, now remember, we've only been speaking about the dynamic of Kriyas Shema. But the Rebbe now points out in Tzidkas that there's another dynamic, which is Shmona Esrei. So remember again, there's Kriyas Shema Shal Shachar, there's Kriyas Shema Shal Arvis, morning Shema after evening Shema, but there's also morning Shmona Esrei and evening Shmona Esrei. And the Rebbe points out something amazing. He says, Ulakach Tfilas Arvis Rishus. I will say, this is actually, remember this from our Gemara Maseches Brachas, that remember, so Ma'ariv, Shmona Esrei by Ma'ariv, is a Rishus. Now, both say Rishus literally means optional. Optional. Now, again, of course, we'll discuss what this means, like in a halachic sense, but again, as opposed to Shachris, where Shmona Esrei is obligatory, Shmona Esrei by Ma'ariv is optional, is a Rishus. So the Rebbe says, why is that? This is incredible. He says, Ki tefillah hi hu hakaras hanochach yosem mikriyas Shema. Because at the end of the day, I will say, there's a fundamental distinction. Shema, we've spoken about this before. Shema is the act of speaking about God. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. God is one. V'ahavtas Hashem Elokecha. Shema outlines all of my obligations vis-a-vis God. It's speaking about God, but not speaking to God. Shmona Esrei is a dialogical connection with God. Shmona Esrei is when I speak with the Ribono Shel Olam. So says the Rebbe something amazing. He says, Ki tefillah hi akaras hanochach yosem mikriyas Shema. Tefillah is speaking to someone opposite you, much more than Shema. Kimosh chasat osvav v'efshar lechayiv balayla dezeh shmi li olam ksiv ba'olam hazeh shadom elalayla rak rishus l'misha chanano Hashem lios layla kiyom yoir lo. So this is an incredible idea. Says the Rebbe, you can't make the actual dialogue obligatory at night. Why? Because the nighttime is difficult, and the nighttime is challenging, and the nighttime is fraught with anxiety. And sometimes during the night, I can't find God. And sometimes during the night, I can't dialogue with God. And sometimes during the night, there's just a whole bunch of other stuff going on. Was you hear what's happening over here? Therefore, the Rebbe says, is there a Shmona Esrei at night? Is there a Shmona Esrei of Ma'ariv? Absolutely. But is it obligatory? It can't be obligatory. That's the honest to goodness truth. It really can't be obligatory. Because how do you mandate a dialogue in the midst of the night? You could you can mandate Shema, because remember again, Shema is a conversation about, not a conversation with. A conversation with, Rabbi say, requires a much higher level of connection, which posits Hatzaddik may not be available to one at night. He goes on, it is an incredible yesod. You know, Rabbi Soloveitchik discusses something very similar to this, albeit in a dramatically different context. He explains that we know that Rahman al-Islam, when a person loses a loved one, so the period between death and burial is the period called Aninos. And Rabbi Soloveitchik says that during Aninos, so one is exempted from positive mitzvahs. One is exempted from positive mitzvahs. So Rabbi Soloveitchik, what's the pshat? He says because when a person has lost a loved one, and they're in the midst of difficult, sometimes searing pain, it's awkward to mandate a conversation with God. Maybe the mourner is not happy with God. Maybe the mourner is angry with God. Maybe the mourner is upset with God. So to force the mourner to dialogue with God when, again, I'm having all of these challenges, Rabbi Soloveitchik says, is unnatural and inappropriate. So it's a different context over here, but what Hatzaddik is saying is nighttime, which represents difficulty, adversity, challenge, to mandate the Shmona Esrei is going to be very difficult. I can mandate Shema, I can mandate speaking about God, but I can't necessarily mandate speaking to God. It's quite dramatic. Rak ha'idna, now here he says something amazing. Rak ha'idna be'ikvaz d'mashicha, karav la'ar hayom kablinu l'chova. Supposed to this is so beautiful. But Tzaddik says But we, all right, so this is already going back a little bit of time, a few centuries, right? So Hatzaddik says, but we who go ahead and are living in the days ikvisa de Meshicha. The Tzidkas says we are living at the end of Galus. We are living at the end of night time, right? We are living at the end of exile. This is what Reb Tzaddik is saying. So for us, the light is much closer than the darkness. Even if we find ourselves, or even if we feel ourselves sometimes at night, there's a recognition, I know that the night is coming to an end. And because I know that the night is coming to an end, therefore says Reb Tzaddik, that gives me the koach, that gives me the ability to have a dialogue with God, even in the midst of night, which is why Reb Tzaddik says, interestingly enough, we have accepted Ma'ariv as a chov, as an obligation. So again, I saw a lot of smiles when I said that Ma'ariv is optional before, but L'maisa at the end of the day, that's not halacha. That's not halacha. We have accepted Ma'ariv as obligatory. What does that mean? But Ma'ariv is at night. Nighttime is adversity, difficulty. How can you mandate a dialogical connection at the end, during the nighttime? To which Reb Tzaddik says, because we are living at the end of the night. We are living at the end of the nighttime period. The day is closer than the night. The light is closer than the darkness. And because I know, says Reb Tzaddik, that the night of Galus, the night of diaspora is coming to an end, Mashiach is so close that gives me the ability to forge the dialogical connection even in the midst of night. Let's just finish. He says, he points out, he says, remember, I will say, the difficulty of establishing a dialogue with God is present even by day. Because remember, again, what happens by day, even by day, Rabbi say, remember, there's a fascinating distinction between Shema and Shmona Esrei. Shema must be recited for the first 3 hours of the day. Zman Kriyas Shema. But remember, Shmona Esrei, interestingly enough, you have a longer window. When can you daven Shmona Esrei until? You can daven Shmona Esrei, remember, all the way until Chatzos, all the way until midday. Says Reb Tzaddik, why does Shmona Esrei have a longer window, right? A larger window than Shema? He says something amazing. Ki lakabolas hanochach mimalchus shamayim tzarich hachana yoser. He says something amazing because at the end of the day, there is more preparation that is needed ultimately for what? For Shmona Esrei than there is for Shema. For Shema, again, especially by day, I could be makabel ol malchus shamayim relatively quickly. I could do it right at sunrise, beginning of the day, lahagid baboker chastecha. But Shmona Esrei, a dialogical connection with God, that takes more time. That's challenging. They both say it's easier to speak about God. Speaking to God is a much more difficult endeavor. Therefore, says Reb Tzaddik, that's why at the end of the day, even for morning, for the morning, I have a longer time to engage in the dialogue. Speaking about God, easy. Speaking to God requires much more preparation. So that even in the morning, when things are beautiful, things are great, the light is out, it's a time of chesed, I need more time to settle into my conversation with the Ribono Shel Olam. We'll have to stop over here for today, so we didn't exactly finish Tzidkas. We'll finish off Tzidkas Emir Hashem and continue with Tzidkas tomorrow. Shkach Avosai.